Hey guys, what's up? Hope you're all well. Sorry about the noise. Got a lot of cars driving past at the moment. I've been pretty busy lately, but I wanted to go through this address from the Prime Minister of Australia, Anthony Albanese. I can't remember, when was it from? Hang on, let me just see if there's a date. I guess it was like the 1st of April, something like that.
My
But yeah,
fellow
let's go through it and hear what he has to say, and we can break it down.
my fellow Australians, by nature we're an optimistic country, but I understand that right now it's hard to be positive. The war in the Middle East has caused the biggest spike in petrol and diesel prices in history. Australia is not an active participant in this war, but all Australians are paying higher prices because of it. I know that you're seeing this at the servo and at the supermarket, and I understand farmers and truckies, small businesses and families are doing it tough. And the reality is, the economic shocks caused by this war will be with us for months. Tonight I want to speak directly with you about what the government is doing to shield Australia in these
One thing that's like already pissing me off is just how canned this whole address is. I guess I don't know. Like it surely we can find a prime minister who can just speak off the cuff in an intelligent way and get across his points without having to have it written out for him by a speechwriter, and for him to then read it in this way that just seems so unauthentic and fake and stupid, and it's very fucking infuriating.
certain times. And also, what all of us can do to help our country and help each other in the period ahead. On Monday, National Cabinet adopted the National Fuel Security Plan. Leaders from both sides of politics, from right around the country, working together to keep Australia moving, making sure that we are prepared so that if the global situation gets worse and our fuel supplies are seriously disrupted over the long term, we can coordinate the next steps together. Today, we cut the fuel excise in half, cutting the tax on every litre of petrol by 26 cents. Those savings have started showing up at your petrol station. For our truckies, we have cut the heavy vehicle road user charge to zero.
Why only cut the fuel excise tax by 26 cents? Why not just cut it completely? Get rid of the fuel excise tax. The government already gets so much money out of us through all sorts of other taxes, and Aussies are really hurting right now with the cost of fuel. So just get rid of the tax completely. It's unbelievable that they're only going to cut it in half. Get rid of the damn thing. Come on, dude.
Both these measures will be in place for the next 3 months. We are working to bring the price of fuel down, to make more fuel
If you're really working to bring the price of fuel down, you'd get rid of the tax completely.
here and to keep it on shore and get more fuel here, using our strong trading relationships with our region to bring more petrol, diesel and fertiliser to Australia. Now, it's the Australian way that people want to do their bit. And there are simple ways that you can. You should go about your business and your life as normal. Enjoy your Easter. And if you're hitting the road, don't take more fuel than you need, just fill up like you normally would. Think of others in your community.
The moment the Prime Minister is telling us to fill up as you normally would, that's just setting alarm bells off for me to be like, I should be filling up how I normally wouldn't. I should be doing the exact opposite of what the Prime Minister's saying. If the Prime Minister, hypothetically was saying don't panic, that'd be the time to panic.
In the bush and in critical industries. And over coming weeks, if you can switch to catching the train or bus or tram to work, do so. That builds our reserves and it saves fuel for people who have no choice but to drive. Farmers and miners and tradies who need diesel every single day. And all those shift workers and nurses who do so much for our country. The months ahead may not be easy. I want to be upfront about that. No government can promise to eliminate the pressures that this war is causing. I can promise we will do everything we can to protect Australia from the worst of it. These are uncertain times, but I'm absolutely certain of this. We will deal with these global challenges the Australian way, working together and looking after each other, as we always have. Thank you and good evening.
So that's Anthony Albanese addressing the nation, I believe, on the 1st of April. Not instilling a lot of confidence, I must say. This next clip I'm going to show is from a recent episode that Tucker Carlson did. He gave a great monologue to begin with, where he's sort of like getting into Trump's recent aggressions towards Iran, Trump and Israel, that is, and just like how Christians can't be supporting what President Trump's doing, and what he's threatening to do as well, like death and destruction and bombing Iran back to the Stone Age. Like, how else can you take that other than a war against the civilian people of Iran? So yeah, Christians can't support that, and no decent moral person can support that, but especially Christians, because Christians claim to be, all about Jesus's teachings, and Jesus's teachings is essentially, forgiveness and love everybody, including your enemies, and non-violence. So we can't be supporting violence. But anyway, this is just like a small clip taken from that recent interview. That recent episode that Tucker did. So he did a monologue to begin with, and then he interviewed this guy, which I should get the guy's name. What's his name? Okay, so the gentleman's name that Tucker interviews, and a clip of him that I'm about to show, his name is Nathan Apfel. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Nathan Apfel. He's a documentary filmmaker known for his investigative work exploring faith, accountability, and institutional transparency. So this guy, he seems great. Like he knows he knows his Christian text very well, and the Gospels and all that good stuff. But anyway, there's this clip here where I think he's getting something wrong. Maybe relating to religion, but also like relating to like politics and economics. So now let's play it, and then I'll give my thoughts on where I think he's getting stuff wrong.
I would actually argue, and this is a bold statement, the Democratic Republic is the greatest government experiment in the history of humanity. I would say
I've enjoyed it.
Okay, to straight off the bat, a democratic republic is the greatest form of government in history. Is that what he said? Hang on, let me just take it back. I want to get this right.
Bold statement. The Democratic Republic is the greatest government experiment in the history.
Okay, democratic republic is the greatest government experiment in history. So, there's nuance, but I don't know, I would necessarily agree with that. And this isn't even like the part where like the bone that I had to pick with. This wasn't necessarily that part that I took issue with, but I do take a little bit of issue with it because democratic republics have devolved into totalitarian nightmares in the 20th century alone. I don't know how many democratic republics there were before the 20th century, but certainly like once they started really popping up in the 20th century, Hitler was democratically elected. That's just one example, but there are other examples where, I mean, the United States of America, I mean, I suppose like for the domestic population, for the citizens of the United States of America, I suppose it's not so bad for them, but like the United States federal government have murdered millions and millions of people all over the world. So, I take issue with that, and especially as a Christian, and these guys are Christians. So, but anyway, all right, that's me getting a bit too autistic about it all. But let's just continue with what else he has to say.
Of humanity, I would say
I've enjoyed it.
You've
Yeah,
enjoyed it. Yeah, so we enjoy it. I love America. You love America.
I do.
Capitalism should not be anywhere near Christianity.
You think?
Christianity is more, and I don't like the word socialist with the weight it carries, but Christianity is socialism at its core.
Non-authoritarian.
It's the marker to build social capital. You look at that early Church of Acts, and it transformed Rome within a couple hundred years, the greatest superpower of its time, to where Constantine was like, I'm a Christian hanging out with these dudes. They had no money.
Okay, let me
had no bill
let me just back it up a little bit. So this is where I'll start taking issue.
near Christianity.
You think?
I love America. You love America.
I do.
Capitalism should not be anywhere near Christianity.
Capitalism should not be anywhere near Christianity. I take massive issue with that. I think he's getting that wrong. And if you listen to the, you got to go just listen to the whole episode, the whole interview, because it is quite fascinating, and they touch on a lot of different things. But like, I think, a lot of what he's talking about is the marriage between church and state, or the intertwining of church and state. There is no real separation. Like, he really gets into like what a non-profit organization is, and how they are like privileges granted by the government. And there's a certain, checklist criteria that you have to meet in order to get non-profit status. But that's the government getting involved. And that's antithetical to, capitalism. Now, these terms are broad terms, and they have been, the definitions aren't always clear. Like, what do you mean when you say capitalism, or what do you mean when you say socialism? But I think like what he's taking issue with, that he's framing or defining as capitalism, really isn't capitalism at all. It's like cronyism. It's where the government gets into bed with private organizations and gives them special privileges that they otherwise would not have been able to obtain in a free market, in an environment where it is just voluntary interactions between individuals, without any state authority or intervention. So yeah, like, because this is the thing, right? Like, he's talking about, and he's saying that like Christianity is socialism, and he did like preface, or he did kind of like give the caveat that he understands that socialism is a very weighted term, but like, I mean, like, we could pull up some definitions, but like, just start with capitalism, right? So like, capitalism, true free market capitalism, absent the state, is basically voluntarism. It's I can't force you to like buy my product or service. I have to convince you or persuade you to buy it, and that's the only way that I can get the money out of you, is if I have something that you want, or something that you perceive that you want. And but whereas like, so that's like real capitalism, right? And also under capitalism, and this is kind of like where I would like to push back and give this, give Nathan like raise a counterpoint to him, and I think he would agree with this, is that like, capitalism doesn't exclude charity. And in actual fact, like charity is a big part of, capitalism or voluntarism, like to voluntarily do something. Like there's all sorts of examples, but like charity is crucial. And I think like sort of this is like the first time I'm like really trying to like flesh these thoughts out, but it's just been like rattling around in my head, and I just had to had to say something on this. But like with voluntarism, with capitalism, it allows for charity, whereas with socialism, I suppose so let's define these terms, all right? Okay, so I've got some definitions, and mind you, like this is just me just Googling to find these definitions, and it's an AI overview, like giving this definition, right? So like take it with a grain of salt, but even in my opinion, which I'm not a fan of Google or AI per se, but I think it gets pretty damn close to hitting the nail on the head, being correct. So let's just have a look at it, right? So capitalism is an economic system based on the private property. Hang on, let me just stop and just say too, like you tell me what sounds more Christ-like. Capitalism is an economic system based on the private ownership of the means of production, factories, mines, land, and their operation for profit. Key pillars include competitive markets, voluntary exchange, capital accumulation, and wage labour. In this system, private actors, rather than governments, dictate production prices and resource allocation, largely driven by self-interest, okay? And then let's go to socialism definition. Provided by Google AI overview. Socialism is an economic and political system based on public or collective ownership of the means of production, aiming for equitable wealth distribution and reduced class inequity. It emerges as a critique of capitalist private ownership, prioritizing production for use rather than profit, with resources often managed by the state, worker cooperatives or collectives. So what sounds more Christ-like? I know that like profit gets like a bad rap and is like a dirty word in a lot of people's minds. But I think one of the key things there is voluntary exchange under capitalism, where you don't at all actually have voluntary exchange under socialism. And what you have is these things being managed by the government. Now, I've been reading the Gospels lately, and a recurring theme that I find in the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, what they're talking about, what Jesus said, is that Jesus is obviously very charitable, and he's doing things for others, and that's kind of the message that he's preaching is don't just think of yourself, like you got to think of others, and you got to do right by other people. And what is it? He gets into. There's a couple of stories. Like one of the stories where Jesus feeds 5,000 people, and he asks his disciples to go into, go buy some bread and go buy some fish, and let's feed these people. And they talk about we've only got, the disciples are we've only got 200 denarii or whatever, and that's not enough. And then Jesus takes the whatever loaves of bread that they were able to buy, whatever handful of fish that they could buy, and then he like turns it. He performs a miracle, and out of that food, like out of those few things, makes a whole heap more bread and a whole heap more fish, enough to feed everybody, right? But like, like he's asking his disciples to like go buy whatever you can. You don't get that in socialism. There is no pricing mechanism. There is no like buying and selling of things. So like just that right there is to me like evidence that like Jesus did not object to people buying and selling, right? And the only way that you can like buy and sell is if you have private ownership and you own the things, and then you exchange those things in a voluntary manner. So I just totally disagree that Christianity is socialism. Like, I just think he's got it so wrong. Like, where I would like give Nathan the benefit of the doubt is like, I understand people's tendency to assume that socialism is like inherently a good thing, and it's just about people caring about people and not caring about profit and self-interest and stuff. But like, man, like just the idea, like self-interest isn't inherently bad. Like I have a self-interest to live. I think most people have a self-interest to live and preserve their life. Just because like you have self-interest doesn't mean that like you're necessarily like selfish. In fact, it can mean the complete opposite. Like, just because I have self-interest, through that self-interest, I could hypothetically be like doing good things for other people, because it's like in my self-interest to do good by others, because then it means that it's like less likely that they're going to do harm to me. That can be motivated. Me doing good things for other people can be motivated out of self-interest. It doesn't have to only solely be motivated out of self-interest, but it certainly can be a part of it, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't think Jesus would object to that at all. So anyway, was there any more of that clip that I wanted to play? Yeah, we'll run the gauntlet. I mean, he sort of gets into Paul the Apostle and the church and stuff like that, but we'll let it run.
You think?
Christianity is more, and I don't like the word socialist with the weight it carries, but Christianity is socialism at its core.
Dude, it's just not. Christianity is socialism at its core. It's just not, man. Like, it really isn't. I can't believe like Tucker's agreeing with it either. Oh yeah, and like I kind of forgot about like the point I was making about charity. Like I wonder what he would have to say about that. Like, just because like, people, like whatever, like someone might be able to like, some people can get rich in capitalism, but like, what's stopping, like what would be wrong with like a rich person after like being very successful in a capitalist system, which I think, in my opinion, is just like the base kind of like human, system for cooperation. What would he have to say about like the person who was really successful in a capitalist system, then turning around and being like very charitable and using the profits that he made to like help others and feed others and, house others? Like, like I wonder what he would have to say about that, because it's not like those people don't exist. Those people certainly exist. And some of the best, like, some of the, from who I've met, like some of the most successful like capitalists that I've met are very good people and very charitable people. And like, so like to compare that with like socialism, I mean, let's just quickly go back to this like Google AI definition, whatever. Socialism, economics and political system. It is inherently a political system, because like it requires force. It requires not everyone's going to want to go along with the socialist, program, and that's just been borne out throughout history. And then, so what do you do about the people who don't agree and still want to, trade and, like engage in voluntary exchange? Well, then it's going to require a lot of force to stop them from doing that, or to imply like violence in order to get them to stop doing that, or like make examples out of people. You're going to have to. It's going to require force. It's going to require violence, and Jesus is against all that shit. So don't give me this crap that Christianity is inherently socialism. I just fundamentally disagree with that. It's antithetical to the things Jesus spoke about. Jesus spoke about forgiving your trespasses, love everybody, including your neighbors. Be charitable. Like be a really good person, and do it all through love, and have faith in Him that He is the Son of God, and what He's saying is true. And I just don't think you find any of those things under a socialist system at all.
Non-authoritarian.
It's the marker to build social capital. You look at that early Church of Acts, and it transformed Rome within a couple hundred years, the greatest superpower of its time, to where Constantine was like, I'm a Christian hanging out with these dudes. They had no money, they had no buildings, but somehow the love of their neighbor transformed the greatest superpower of its time.
Yeah, I just don't understand how you can love your neighbor by like using force and violence if they don't agree with the system that you want to have imposed. Like, how is that loving your neighbor? Because that's what is required under a socialist system.
That's dangerous. I would actually argue.
So yeah, I've pretty much covered what I wanted to cover. This show is going to be a bit shorter, just because I'm running out of time and I've got a lot on today. But yeah, in essence, I don't think that Christianity is socialism. I think that Christianity is more. I think that capitalism is more in alignment with Christianity. Not saying that capitalism is Christianity, but I'm just saying that like voluntarism, charity, and morality is more aligned with Christian values than socialism, which by its very nature requires force and violence. So if anyone wants to argue with me on that, like, feel free, go for it. Let's, happy to do a back and forth with anybody, or, if you want to leave a comment on the video, and we can, I can hear your thoughts that way. And if there's anything that I think's interesting, then I'm happy to bring it up. And I'm also happy to have my mind changed. I just don't think that, maybe there's something else that Christianity is like more in alignment with, but it's certainly not socialism in my opinion. And on that, let's just we'll close the show out by just looking at some of these charts, which I really like to do. Not going to go too crazy with it, but yeah, Bitcoin is not looking great. We're sort of stuck in this upward sloping channel, and it's looking pretty bearish in my opinion. Like, we were thinking we had a bit of a bat pattern here, and then it played out really like it hit an aggressive target. It got above the A, sold off, and then again got above the A. But then it's just looking like we're sort of just confined in this structure, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's lower prices to come. Let's have a look at interest rates. The 10-year yield is dropping. There's a gap there now. So yeah, don't know, just it is what it is. The Aussie 10-year is the interest rate's dropping, so that means the price of the bond is rising, so people are buying them. Okay. Could be maybe I mean, the trend is your friend, and the trend is interest rates are going up. So this could just be a short-term little downturn on interest rates before it goes higher. Wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. We'll have a quick look at silver. It looks like it might have bottomed out, and that's in US dollars, in Aussie dollars, $108 and change. Could be forming, could be a premature W shape, a dragon. I think Mitch Ray would say. So an aggressive target for, I guess, like it's a shark pattern. If we were to inverse this, M shape, W shape, but it would be the 1.13 Fibonacci extension, so $180. That'd be pretty hectic, but who knows? See what happens. Gold in Aussie dollars, 6,800 and change, and just hit the 200-day simple moving average and bounced off there. See what happens. Probably fresh all-time highs again. Trend is your friend, and the trend is up. And gold in US dollars, 4,800. Didn't quite hit the 200-day moving average, did it? But looks like it's bottomed out and probably find a new all-time high. Would not be surprised. Let's have a look at oil. So Trump, that's the news of the day, is like Trump's, he was first threatening to wipe Iran back to the Stone Age, bomb Iran back to the Stone Age. And then just this morning I seen that they've negotiated a 2-week ceasefire, and I guess oil's selling off on that news. So we're back to $96.41. All right, that'll be it. Thanks, everybody. Love everybody. As Jesus would say, love everybody, love your enemies, forgive your trespasses. Yep. And as I would say, have a lovely day. Peace out, y'all.